We know that if the upper note of an interval is in the major scale of the lower note, then that interval is either major or perfect. But what happens if the upper note is a half step higher than that major or perfect interval? If that is the case, then the interval is called an augmented interval. And our shorthand that we use for augmented is AUG. Let's use the key of C to see how this works. If the bottom note of an interval is a C, and the upper note of the interval is a D, we know that that is a major second. But if that D becomes a D sharp, it's a little wider, that is now an augmented second. If the bottom note is a C and the upper note is an E natural, well, we know that's a major third. But if the upper note is a little higher and is now an E sharp, that is an augmented third. If the bottom note is a C and the upper note is an F, we know that that is a perfect fourth. Well, if it's an F sharp, that is now an augmented fourth. If the bottom note is a C and the upper note is a G, that's a perfect fifth. So if we make that G a G sharp, that is an augmented fifth. If the bottom note is a C and the upper note is an A, we know that that is a major sixth. So if we turn the A into an A sharp, that is now an augmented sixth. If the bottom note is a C and the upper note is a B natural, that's a major seventh. So if we change the B natural to a B sharp, that is now an augmented seventh. And finally, if we have what looks like an octave, with the bottom note being a C and the upper note being a C, that's an octave or a perfect eighth. If that higher C is a C sharp, that is now an augmented eighth.